You found this video for a reason. Maybe you didn't search for it, maybe it just appeared and something in you clicked on it. Something quiet, something tired, something that doesn't quite have words yet. So before we go anywhere, I just want to say I'm glad you're here because I think you have been carrying something really heavy lately, and I don't think many people around you know just how heavy it actually is. There is this kind of exhaustion that doesn't show on your face. You still get up, you still answer messages, you still smile when you're supposed to smile. But behind all of that, something in you is running on fumes. You have been trying genuinely, quietly, consistently trying, and yet when you look around, it doesn't seem like anything has changed. Maybe you've been working towards something for months or years, and you're still not there. And the gap between where you are and where you thought you would be by now, the gap feels like a wound sometimes. You thought you would be further along, you thought it would have gotten easier by now, and instead, life handed you more setbacks, more waiting, more mornings where you had to convince yourself to try again. And the hardest part, it's not even the struggle itself, it's the silence around the struggle. Because most people don't talk about this. They don't post about the nights they cried into a pillow. They don't tell you about the version of their life they quietly let go of. They show how to bloom, never the drought. And you sit with your pain in private, wondering if something in you is wrong, wondering why this feels so hard when it seems to come so easily to everyone else. Nothing is wrong with you, my dear friend. You're not falling behind. You're not failing. You're in the middle of something, and the middle is always the hardest place to be because you can't see the beginning clearly anymore and you can't see the end yet at all. Let's be honest about something because I think you deserve honesty right now. Giving up doesn't always look dramatic, it's not always a big declaration. Most of the time, it creeps in quietly. It sounds like maybe this just isn't for me. It sounds like I've tried long enough. It sounds like I'm so tired and I just want to stop. And those feelings, they make complete sense because you have been disappointed more than once. You have built hope only to have something knock it down. You started over probably many times than you would like to count. And every time you had to start again, a little piece of you wondered if this was just the pattern. Try, fail, try again, fail again. Comparison doesn't help either. You scroll past someone who seemed to have everything figured out, the career, relationship, the life that looks like it all came together, and something tightens in your chest. Not because you're jealous exactly, but because you're tired. And seeing someone else's highlight reel when you are in the middle of your lowest chapter just makes the contrast feel unbearable. Comparison is the thief of joy. Theodore Roosevelt said that. And as true as it is, knowing it doesn't always make it stop hurting. But here's what I want to say gently and carefully because I don't want to minimize what you're feeling. I understand that. The temptation to give up is not a sign that you should, it's a sign that you care deeply, that this dream, this goal, this step in your life you're reaching for, it matters to you. You wouldn't be exhausted if it didn't matter. You wouldn't be heartbroken if you didn't love something. The pain you're feeling right now is proof that you're someone who tries. And that is not a small thing. I want to tell you a story about a woman named Mara. She was in her late 30s, living in a small, cozy apartment, working a job that paid her bills but took something from her every single day. For years, she had been writing stories, fragments, poems in the margin of notebooks, in the notes app on her phone, in the quiet hours after midnight when the world finally got still. She had sent her manuscript to dozens of publishers. Every single one said no. Not just no, some didn't even respond. And one evening, after a particularly brutal rejection, one that came with a few lines of feedback that essentially said, "This is not something people want to read." Mara sat at her kitchen table, looked at the stack of notebooks she had filled over years, and thought, "What is the point?" She didn't throw them away, she just stopped opening them. For almost 8 months, she didn't write a single word. And then one night, she couldn't sleep. She got up, made herself a cup of coffee, and almost by accident picked up one of the old notebooks. She started reading, not to fix it, not to submit it anywhere, just to read, just to remember why she started. She cried not from sadness, from recognition, because the words on those pages were hers, fully, completely hers, and no rejection letter could change that. She started writing again, differently this time, not to get somewhere, just to say something true. 2 years later, a small independent press published her book. It didn't become a bestseller, but it found its readers. And some of those readers wrote to her and said, "This book found me at exactly the right time." That's Mara's story from years ago. And I'm telling it to you because she isn't famous. She didn't give a big platform, a mentor, or a perfect plan. She had notebooks, she had doubt, she had 8 months of silence, and she came back anyway. There is something that happens in the nature that I think about a lot. When a seed is planted in the ground, there's a period, sometimes weeks, sometimes months, where nothing visible happens. You look at the soil, you see nothing. If you didn't know better, you might assume nothing was there at all. But underground, everything is happening. The seed is breaking open, roots are forming. The whole invisible architecture of a future plant is being built in the dark, in the quiet, where no one else can see it. And then there's bamboo. Bamboo can grow up for up to 5 years with almost no visible change above ground. 5 years of watering or tendering, waiting, and then to anyone watching, it looks like nothing is happening. And then suddenly, bamboo can grow nearly 3 feet in a single day. Not because the growth came out of nowhere, but because all the time the roots were going deep than you could imagine. The strongest oak tree of the forest is not the one that is protected from the storm and hidden from the sun. It's the one that stands in the open, where it's compelled to struggle for its existence against the winds and rains, said by Nephilim Hill. I think about that when I think about you. You are not stagnant, you are not stuck, you are rooting. This reason, this painful, invisible, exhausting season is doing something in you that you won't be visible for a while. But it is happening. Every time you choose to try when it would have been easier to stop. Every time you go back up and every reason to stay down. Every time you kept going when no one was watching. You were growing. And depth is what makes you unshakable. And there is also the cherry blossom. It blossoms for only 1 week or two each spring, but it spends the entire rest of the year preparing for that moment. People travel from all over the world to see it bloom. They don't just travel to watch it. Without the waiting, there is no bloom. Your bloom is coming, and genuinely believe that. But even if it isn't, even if things don't go exactly you hoped, who you are becoming through this process, that matters. That is real, that belongs to you completely. I want to stop for a second and speak directly to you, not to everyone watching, to you specifically, the one who's been holding it together on the outside while quietly falling apart on the inside, the one who keeps asking themselves if they should just let this dream go, the one who's exhausted in a way that's hard to explain. If nobody had told you this recently, or maybe ever, I want to be the one to say it. You are doing better than you think. I know That can be hard to hear when the evidence around you seems to say otherwise. But effort is not always visible in results. Growth is not always measurable in milestones. And worth is not something you earn by reaching a destination. You are allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. Sophia Blush said that. And I think it's one of the truest things I've ever come across. You don't have to have arrived to be enough. You're allowed to be tired. You're allowed to grieve the timeline you thought your life would follow. You are allowed to feel the disappointment without it meaning you have failed. But I also want to say something else. Please don't confuse exhaustion with inability. Please don't confuse a slow season with a dead season. Please don't let the silence of this particular chapter convince you that the story is over. It isn't over. You are still here, and that means something. That means everything, actually. I am not going to tell you to believe in yourself with everything you have or to visualize your dream so hard it appears. That's not what today needs. Today needs is one small thing, not the whole mountain, not the whole journey, not figuring out how everything is going to work out. Just one small, gentle step forward. Maybe that looks like getting up and making yourself a decent meal. Maybe it's opening your laptop and writing one paragraph, sending one mail, making one phone call. Maybe it's simply deciding quietly, privately, that you're not giving up today. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step, says Martin Luther King Jr. One step, my friend, not because it will fix everything, but because one step tells a part of you that's been very scared lately. You're still going, and that message, that quiet internal signal, matters more than you know. You don't have to solve your entire life before Tuesday. You don't have to know how the story ends. You just have to willing to show up every day. That's enough. That's genuinely enough. I want to leave you with this. The ache you're feeling right now, that longing, that tiredness, that grief over a life that hasn't quite matched the vision you carry, that ache is not your enemy. Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. J.K. Rowling said that. And she would know. She sat in a cafe on benefits writing a story about a that was rejected by 12 publishers before it changed the world. The ache is part of this. It has always been part of this. Some trees flower in spring, others wait until deep into summer when everything else has already had its season. They are not late, they are not wrong. They're simply their own time, growing on their own ways, answering to something deeper than the calendar. You are allowed to be on your own time. You are allowed to be still becoming. And one day, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not this year, but one day you will look back at this exact moment, this hard, heavy, quiet moment, and you will still see it for what it was really. Not the end of your story, the part where the roots went deepest. That's what this channel about. Not the easy parts, not the highlighted reel, the ache and the slow, steady, stubborn journey from ache toward bloom. If you need more of this, more honesty, more gentleness, more reminders that you are not alone in what you're carrying, stay tuned with this channel. This is a space built for the in between, for the seasons that don't photograph well, for the people still wait for their moment. You belong here, and I'll see you in the next one.